You're listening to The Implanted Word with Pastor Bill Gim of Grace Church in Amarillo, Texas.
The implanted word, your word in me.
A demon has to get permission from God to enter a pig. I kind of like that, because I'm not a pig and neither are you. You say, what's all this stuff with animals and pigs? Well, do you remember the garden? It was a serpent. It was a snake. Something about the devil and demons, they just want to inhabit things. You say, why? To destroy them. To destroy them.
A loving parent won't shelter their children from every trial and hardship as much as they may want to. They know that those experiences are necessary to mature and grow in confidence. As a child of God, you may question why He would allow you to be attacked and confronted by demons. But as Pastor Bill will assure us in today's message, these experiences are an opportunity to grow. God allows these trials so you can learn to trust in Him more fully and grow a stronger faith. Now, here's Pastor Bill in the book of Luke chapter 8 as he continues his message, Jesus, the Tomb Raider.
I turn from my ways into your love. Humble myself and accept your word. Your word planted in me is able to save my soul. Your word in me, the implanted word. Your word in me, the implanted word.
When he stepped out on the land, there met him a certain man from the city who had demons for a long time. He wore no clothes. He wore no clothes. Nor did he live in a house, but in the tombs. Somewhere along the way, somehow death, nudity, and he actually lives in the graveyard. And if you ought to know enough about our culture that's still going on. People still somehow, the whole death thing, nudity thing, somehow the obsession with that, somehow the darkness with that, somehow the thrill of that. You say, well, why? Well, because there is some truth to it. Stuff happens. There is power in it. Years ago, while we were already in this building, we had the circus tent up, and this dude showed up. And I knew he wasn't right because he walks in with a baseball bat. That's not normal. He's a skinhead with a baseball bat. Great, let's get her on. Then there was a time he walked into this building with a butcher knife. I'm talking full-on butcher knife. Wow. So what'd you do? I'm just going to call Ron and say, Ron, take care of that man. Oh, man, I rumbled with this guy. His name's Daniel. Rumbled, and there was actually, I said, what are you going to do, Daniel? Stick me? Are you going to stick me after all we've been through? Really? Man, he had such an attitude. He would walk the streets of Amarillo with his baseball bat. You're just looking for trouble. Oh, come on, Pastor Bill. No, I'm telling you the truth. And then there was a prayer meeting here on a Thursday night. You should have been at that one. We had 6 squad cars, 2 fire trucks, and an ambulance because Daniel lost it. In that room right back there, they had to hog tie him. I still remember seeing 3 cops on his back and supernatural strength coming out of Daniel right there, and then they hauled him out of here. But by the way, he's saved today in his right mind. He's got a bunch of little babies today. I talk with Daniel every day. I text him every day. Same Bible verse I sent you, I sent Daniel. Lives up in Milwaukee. Why are you telling us all this? Man, I see it all the time. Jesus would go across the lake for you. Or Daniel. Or me. Okay. He wore no clothes. Nor did he live in a house, but in the tombs. When he saw Jesus, he cried out and fell down before him, and with a loud voice said, "What have I to do with you, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torment me." For he had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man, and it often seized him. And he was kept under guard. He was kept under guard, bound with chains and shackles, and he broke the bonds. And he was driven by the demon into the wilderness. Can I see Mark 5:5? Mark, it tells the same story, but Mark 5:5. And always, night and day, he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying out and cutting himself with stones. He's naked. He's bloody. He's yelling. He's in the graveyard. Everybody else has given up on him. Every time they get this guy hogtied, put on whatever shackles, he has supernatural strength. He's got no hope. None. Except for Jesus. Except for Jesus. He's driven into the wilderness. The demons are driving him. That word for driving him is the same word. It's like a man on a horse. In Mark, it talks about that they couldn't tame him. The word tame comes from a word. They couldn't tame him. It's like he's a wild animal. Completely hopeless without Jesus Christ.
That's right.
And yet with Jesus Christ, every reason to hope. Remember, this story is really about all of us. It just depends what degree you're talking about. Are you tracking with me? In case anybody says, well, I'm not that bad. Well, you don't have to be that bad. You're still dead in the trespasses of your sin. And Jesus will show up in your tomb, in your cemetery, in your sickness with whatever you got. Interesting here at the very end of verse 29. He was driven by the demon. He was driven by the demon into the wilderness. John Corson took that thought and reminded me today as the one black bird with the one legs jumping around. I read this by John Corson. The Spirit of God drove Jesus into the wilderness for his development. The devil drove this man into the wilderness for his destruction. You find yourself in a hot, dry wilderness situation? The devil means to destroy you. But the Spirit will use it to develop you. If you say, I'm going to sit in front of the TV and be mad at life, you'll be dominated by the forces of darkness. If on the other hand you say, Lord, I know you brought me here. It's hot and barren and dry, but I will look to you in order that this desert experience might do to me what it did for your son, that it might give me victory for greater ministry. You'll be blessed indeed. Whichever you choose, you'll be in the same desert. But oh, how different the results will be. You say, Pastor Bill, are you sure this is your favorite story of the Bible? Uh-huh. Why? Because Jesus saved me. I know how lost I was. And I've got some friends and family members, I'm still writing their names in my Bible, like today, believing when it's the right time for Jesus to go across the lake and get them from the depths of despair and destruction. One of them's right up there. Hey, Doug. Woohoo! Jesus saved my brother. And you say, no, he wasn't that bad. Oh, you don't know our story. Greatest miracle I've ever seen in my life is my brother right there, who should not be saved, should not be alive, should not be in there, and sure shouldn't be a minister if you're going by the track record. Well, you want to talk about my siblings? You want to talk about my dad? You want to talk about church members here? Oh, I'm glad you do, because we'll show you one in a minute. We've all been there, guys, right? I'm not trying to make it worse. I'm just very, very glad that at one time my brother's name was at the top of my list. There ain't no hope for him unless Jesus goes across the lake and saves him. I feel sorry for people who come to church thinking somehow I can save them. I can't save anybody. But I can tell you the one that does. His name is Jesus. Amen? Okay, let me get on. Thanks, Doug. Just throwing you in there again. Great. Greatest miracle I've ever seen in my life standing right there, bar none. Hey, Jody, there's another miracle right there. Jesus went across the lake to save you. Whoa! It's true, right? It's actually, wow. If Jody can get saved, anybody can get saved. Right, Michael? You see, demonized has many different dimensions. I better get back to the word, huh? Driven by the demon into the wilderness, Jesus asked him, by the way, did you notice that the demons called him by the right name? Jesus, Son of the Most High God. How did they know? Well, they used to worship him in heaven before they became fallen angels. They weren't created demons. They were holy angels. They know exactly who Jesus Christ is. And they don't want to go to the pit. They don't want to go to the abyss. They're going to pray. Did you know demons pray? They do. Matter of fact, they believe in God. And they tremble. They're trembling here. Why? Because they know if Jesus wants it, he'll send them right into the abyss, right into the pit. They'll be confined. They don't want to go there. So they start praying to Jesus. I better be able to back that up. Jesus said, what's your name? He said, Legion. That's 6,000, up to 6,000 Roman soldiers. He said, Legion, because many demons had entered him. And they begged him. The demons begged Jesus. They begged him that he would not command them, he would not command them to go into the abyss, the deep, the bottomless pit. They don't want to be confined. They know that's coming, but they don't want to go there yet. Now, a herd of many swine, pigs, was feeding there on the mountain. You say, where'd the pigs come from? You're on the Gentile side. These are Gentiles. Jesus left the Jews. He's over with Gentiles. You know what Gentiles eat? Barbecue. It's true. So he's on the side of the lake. They begged him that he would not command them to go into the abyss, the deep. Now a herd of swine was feeding there on the mountain. And they begged him. They're pleading, they're praying that he would permit them to enter them, the pigs, the swine. Jesus permitted them. He answered their prayer. By the way, just so you know, every demon has to get permission from Jesus to enter a pig. Did you follow that? A demon has to get permission from God to enter a pig. I kind of like that because I'm not a pig and neither are you. You say, what's all this stuff with animals and pigs? Well, do you remember the garden? It was a serpent. It was a snake. Something about the devil and demons, they just want to inhabit things. You say, why? To destroy them. To destroy them. David Guzik said it like this. We can say that demons want to inhabit bodies. Demons want to inhabit bodies for the same reason why the vandal wants a spray can or a violent man wants a gun. A body is a weapon that they can use in their attack against God. Demons also attack men because they hate the image of God in man. So they try to mar that image by debasing man and making him grotesque. If you do the whole math back in the garden, all back with creation, when God made man in his own image, that ticked off many of the angels, holy, godly angels. All of a sudden, you made man in your image. Somehow in that whole scenario, Lucifer fell. About a third of them fell with them. Why? They were so jealous that God would make you, me, in his image. Their purpose is to destroy anything that can mar that image, anything that can hurt that, anything in the face of that. But they got to pray. They have to have permission to go into a pig. Aren't you glad they'd have to pray to get permission to go in a loved one or you? Somebody might be saying, why would God answer this prayer? Why would God let them go into the pigs? Well, because we're about to see that when demons go into pigs, that pigs go crazy. The same way as when demons go into people, people go crazy. And so everybody can say, well, maybe it's the way they were brought up. Maybe they're having a bad reaction. Maybe their glucose is unbalanced. Maybe they ate too much flour. Maybe it's just a bad Taco Bell experience. Maybe the guy's just mental. Is it okay for me to say mental? It's very complicated. I mean, I know there's people that sometimes you get too much sugar, whatever, and it goes, dang, you look over and, Doesn't mean it's a demon. It just means calm down, calm down. Okay. But sometimes it can be too much caffeine. Then the demons say, let's take advantage of that. You want to talk about alcohol? My opinion, every time you open it up, you are taking the chance for demons to come in and start controlling your life. Will they do that with one drink? No. Will they do that after you run down the road a ways? Can't control it any longer? I better go on. You get the point. So they get permission. Why would Jesus grant them permission? Well, everybody's going to find out the purpose of demons. He permitted them. Then the demons went out of the man, if you can imagine how that looked, entered the swine, the pigs, and the herd ran violently. The herd ran violently down the steep place into the lake, and they drowned. Way back right after I got married 42 years ago, I worked on a pig farm. And I think they called it hurdling pigs. You'd get out there, you had this big wooden thing, and pigs are like crazy. They're really strong. Some of them are really big. And so you want to kind of guide them. And I can remember I was a little skinny guy and trying to get just one pig to go that way. I can't imagine 2,000. Well, there's at least 2,000 demons. You got 2,000 pigs. What'd they do? They went crazy. Now they're being driven by demons. Did you know pigs are very good swimmers? Did you know that? Pigs are good swimmers, unless they're demon possessed, and then they drown. You know what that is? Suicide. Oh, it's biblical. It's biblical. The purpose of the demons was to get the pigs to kill themselves. And they did. By the way, the purpose of the devil in anybody, whether you want to call it possession, obsession, demonized, whatever, is for you to kill yourself. And if you haven't noticed that in our culture lately, I've done way too many funerals where people have taken their own lives. Why would that happen? To some degree, demons, the lie, the devil is at work. Aren't you grateful for the Holy Spirit and that Jesus would find you? I've had those thoughts. My brothers had those thoughts. Most everybody in this room has. But Jesus will cross the lake and find you. The herd ran violently down the steep place into the lake, and they drowned. When those who fed them saw what had happened, they fled and told it in the city and in the country. Then they went out to see what had happened and came to Jesus. And they found the man whom the demons had departed, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind. There's no greater joy than when you find somebody when they finally get saved. Then they're able to think right for like the first time, in their right mind. And they put their clothes back on. And they sit at the feet of Jesus. You say, how can you tell if somebody's demonized or not? Because demons don't sit at the feet of Jesus. These people that come out, they were afraid. What? They're afraid. They also, who had seen it, told them by what means he who had been demonized was healed. So they told him the whole story. The whole multitude of the surrounding region of the Gadarenes fell down and worshiped the Lord and said, please, let us bring all our sick loved ones to you and all the other people. You can clean this up. You can actually have a revival right here. We'll set up a tent and everybody will get saved. That's what they should have said, but that's not what they said. Glad you guys are reading with the Bible with me. All these people at the Gadarenes, they asked him to depart from them, for they were seized with great fear. Really? Jesus saves the dude right there that you couldn't shackle, you couldn't tie, has scared you over and over and over again in his right mind? And now you're asking him to leave? Depart, for they were seized with great fear. Jesus got into the boat and returned. By the way, you ask Jesus to leave, he'll leave. That's what's scary. You don't receive the Lord, he'll only show up so many times, and then he'll leave. That's why, I don't know if you noticed, but we really try to invite the Lord into our church every time. Because I know one church, Laodicea, he's on the outside of his own church knocking because somebody forgot to bring him in. Don't you forget to invite the Lord in. Please don't ever ask him to leave. Capernaum did that. Nazareth did that. The Gadarenes did that. And he left. Now the man whom the demons had departed begged him that he might be with him. But Jesus sent him away, saying, return to your own house. Boy, that's going to make mom and dad and wife and kids happy. Whoa! Return to your own house. Tell them what great things God has done for you. He went his way, proclaimed. Can I hear you say proclaimed? That's the same word for preaching. He went away. This guy that was just screaming in the guard or in the tombs, he went away preaching, proclaimed throughout the whole city. Matter of fact, Decapolis is 10 cities. What great things Jesus had done for him. That is the first Gentile witness to Gentile territory from a guy that was hopeless. Hopeless. So here's the thing. You know, most of the people in this room, we would have our own testimony. But everybody in this room, we've got a somebody, don't we? I don't know if it's your neighbor, a cousin, a son, a daughter, grandkid, mom, a dad, husband or a wife. And you're worried sick. I'd encourage you tonight, like that mom and dad, like this brother, just jot their name down. We're going to pray for them, that Jesus can set them free. Part of that prayer is that they'll let Jesus set them free. Part of that is that part of it too. And there might be somebody here. You just need Jesus to set you free, like now.
The implanted word.
Thanks for joining Pastor Bill today to study the Gospel of Luke. This New Testament book gives you a unique look at the life and ministry of Jesus. Jesus came to the earth to show everyone how to love well and follow God's heart. He healed many, performed miracles, and taught important lessons to all. But that wasn't the limit of who Jesus was, because Jesus is the Son of God. He has the power to forgive sin, but that sin still needs to be paid for. So Jesus did that too. He obediently went to the cross and died in the place of all people everywhere. He took your sins to the grave, and then he rose from the dead, proving his incredible and unequal power over everything. Jesus is alive today, and he's offering you the opportunity to be free. You can take your faults and mistakes and hand them over to him and accept him as a substitute for your punishment. Then you get to live a new life, free and filled with grace. We love to talk with you more as you make the decision to give your life to Christ. We want to pray with you, and we'll do our best to answer the questions you may have. Give us a call at 806-680-2820. If you'd like to explore more teachings from this series in Luke, or to check out other messages Pastor Bill has shared, you can find them at theimplantedword.com. That's all we have time for today. Thanks for tuning into The Implanted Word.
Your word.